sorry. Couldn't even wait for the theme because we've got really big news that we have to talk about today, and I know a lot of my friends who know me as a Star Wars fan want to know what I think about today's big news. I am a poor arguer because I am the type of person who can see both sides of every argument. So my initial reaction to this news: Disney buys Lucasfilm, wants to produce and make Episode 7, 8, and 9, and then release a Star Wars movie every 2 years. That's how I initially got the news. And so my reaction to that initially was this. No! A Darth Vader. Because my biggest fear was that out of the hands of George Lucas, what was going to happen, just not good. Bad news. Because, you know, it was, say what you want about George Lucas, and there are many people out there who have bad opinions. I have never been one of those people because I love George's vision of it. I mean, he created 4, 5, and 6, and say what you want about 1, 2, and 3. Yes, even I have a few gripes about those prequels. Like, why you would spend 20 minutes of a movie in a race when you could be talking about Jedi and the Force and anything else. But I digress. It's still George. It's George's vision. George knows what the Force is. George knows these characters. George. It's his world. I, was a little bit scared and upset and worried. Like, what is going to happen to the George? We're going to lose his vision. And on top of that, my biggest fear is that we're going to dilute Star Wars. Because if for those of you who don't know, there's a million Star Wars books out there, and nobody knows where to begin because there's just so many of them. And, the last series of books had people drinking calf and talking about their day, and I don't care about what the Zabrak accountant is doing on a day-to-day basis, I want Jedi, and I want epic stories, and I want them to mean something. And, I've already complained once, but what they've done to the Luke Skywalker character, I hate. In some ways, it's like they've neutered him. Now he has to fill out paperwork every time he cuts off somebody's arm, and it's just like stupid. It's, where is, the leader? And yeah, he might be a reluctant leader, but this guy, by the time we reach these books, are like in his 60s and 70s. So, he should be Obi-Wan by now and not still the reluctant 20-year-old, oh shucks, how are we going to beat the bad guys? He should be a total badass by now, and that's not what you've done to him. So my biggest fear is what's going to happen when you have 12 movies, 14 movies, past the 6 we already have. How can you keep the story alive that long? And with what I've already seen, again, in the EU books, it scares me. It scares me. Which, to side note, I should say that I am not an EU hater. There's a lot of books in the EU I like. The whole series where Jason turns bad is really awesome. The Timothy Zahn series that takes place 5 years after Return of the Jedi is awesome. There have been, few books along the way that I think were awesome, but the Yuzong Vong storyline was really long, and it was really depressing, actually, for Star Wars. And, so it wasn't my favorite series. And then after that, I just felt like it just got away from them and thread out into this whole other world. One series I did love was Legacy, but it took place, 200 years after, A New Hope with Cade Skywalker, Luke's great-grandson, having to carry on. That was a really great storyline. I really enjoyed that. And some of the earlier stuff, some of the Knight Old Republic games are awesome. But for the most part, what is that, like 20% of the EU? The rest of it is just unwieldy and not a lot of it entertaining. And of course, George just brought on Kathleen Kennedy, and, my initial thought was, oh no, that's the reason he brought Kathleen Kennedy on, was to help with this merger of bringing, Lucasfilm, with ILM, I might add, Lucasfilm, ILM, in with Disney. Now, they've had a really good partnership in the past with the Star Wars weekends and with the Star Wars ride and all those other things that they've been doing. They've been combining that, their partnership has been really good. But again, my big fear is once it's in Disney's hands, what will happen to it? That was up until I came home this afternoon and saw the video that George and Lucasfilm posted on YouTube. The link for that is down below. I highly suggest that you go look at it, but I'm going to try and sum it up as quick as I can here. Kathleen Kennedy staying on to Lucasfilm. Her job, she says, is going to be to protect the characters, which I love that idea. And I'm quoting here, continue that the characters, brackets, that the characters, continue to live in the way that you created them. You being George Lucas. That makes me feel a lot better. Then I have less concern. Plus Kathleen Kennedy, who, just go to IMDb and check out her list of movies that she's produced, and that will make you feel lots better. As a friend of mine pointed out just moments ago, Disney's got Marvel. Look what they did with Marvel. So that's a great point. The other great part of this interview here is that GL says that, he has the treatments for 7, 8, and 9, and so he's kind of handed those over to Kathleen. They're sort of going to end up doing what they want with them, but I like that idea that they're at least taking the ideas that George had and continuing on. Now, of course, my biggest question is will these episodes have Luke, Leia? I wonder about Han, because Harrison has said, he'll probably never play that character. He'd most likely never play that character again, plus he's probably too expensive. But how those original trilogy characters going to play into this one, and are they going to follow the EU, which I hope they don't. Kathleen also said, of having GL maintain like a little Yoda on her shoulder. That's good. So, I doubt she'll be asking him context of everything, but, when she's got questions, I'm sure he can guide her. So the coolest thing about this, for those of you who saw the GL interview with Oprah back just a few months ago, what he said is, he goes, the biggest thing about my life is that I never got to see Star Wars. Yeah, he produced it, he edited it, and he did all that, but he didn't get to see it for the first time. It's always just been in his head, and pretty amazing. So, now he gets to be a fan, which, if you're a fan of GL, then you kind of got to give him that one. You got to be like, well, all right. Your legacy is living on, and not only that, but you get to be a fan of the big movies like we all have from day one. Now, in retrospect, having gotten the full, almost blessing of George, and, finding that they are going to be at least keeping in mind his ideas, thoughts, and philosophies, and mythology, makes me really excited. And the only thing that would make it better is if Dave Filoni was all a part of it. Alright, well that wraps up this special edition. I wonder what you all think of it. Go ahead and leave comments below. And watch by the end of this week for the new blog. It's going to be great. We're doing something a little bit different this week. Oh yeah, you just wait. So the end of this week we'll have that up for you. Otherwise, go out, drink some beer. My name is Matt. This is my blog.